Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the St. John's University Power Hour number 18. I can't believe this. My name is Susan Damiani, and I am the Director of Gift Planning at St. John's University, and I'm also the Director of the McAllen Society, which is our legacy society. And if any of you have tried out some of our other power hours, you know it's a great way to stay connected. I look forward to my Tuesdays at 1 o'clock to see our donors and alumni all together. And we're sharing, great information. And it's been terrific, working with my fellow colleagues and faculty members and alumni, and just, we're inviting certain experts, different fields of study. And like we said, it's a power hour. So we really get powered up, and we hope you're powered up today. It's the start, September is the start of Fashion Month. And I thought it would be great to talk about fashion. And I invited two wonderful women here, Dr. Andrea Licari and Professor Nicole Mussenden, who are part of our St. John's University Fashion Studies program at the Collins College of Professional Studies. Dr. Licari is the director of the Fashion Institute, and she's actually one of the founders who created the Fashion Studies Bachelor degree at St. John's. She taught also at FIT and Parsons, and she has a triple concentrated doctorate in behavioral science, global business, and management science. And she's also a Fulbright scholar. And the best part of all, she's a double alumna of St. John's University. And Nicole, she is an adjunct professor here at St. John's at the Collins of College of Professional Studies. And she teaches fashion more in the marketing and management area of it. And prior to St. John's, I thought this was really interesting. She's the director of the affiliate sales and marketing at ESPN and Fox Network. And she holds a civil engineer degree at Stevens Institute of Technology. I did not know that, Nicole. That's very impressive. And also an MBA at the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. So I welcome both of you. Thank you so much for joining our Power Hour. This is really exciting. I mean, fashion is a love of mine. I grew up in a family that was very fashion-minded. My father, very sharp dresser. In fact, my godfather is in the fashion business. He went to FIT, and he had his own bridal line. So it's near and dear to my heart, and I'm really excited to talk about it. Right now, London, Milan, Paris, they're all streamlining their shows. On Instagram, they're conducting interviews. So we already see what's going on right now in the fashion industry during this pandemic. Would we ever think something like this would happen? I was just reading the news today, and I read that Fendi named Kim Jones to replace Lagerfeld as their new women's wear designer. The biggest luxury deal ever took place with LVMH, and they bought Tiffany's. And then Century 21 went out of business. This is terrible. Are there going to be trends still? I love this line. Someone said, are we even going to have to wear clothes? I mean, please wear clothes. But we know what we're saying. Is like clothes going to be like so important? What is fashion dead? What changes are going to take place? We had the flappers in the 1920s, and so what's our fashion for the pandemic? So all of this is happening, and we'd really like to know the answers to some of these questions. So we hope the both professors, they know fashion well, and hopefully you can kind of help us through this and tell us what's going on right now in fashion. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Licari. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay.
on.
Okay. Is everything okay? Can you hear me? Yes? Good. Okay, first I'd like to thank Susan for bringing this concept together. And I'd like to thank Nicole for willingness to venture this path with me. Susan just ended her little intro with the concept of during the 20s, you had the flappers and the very, very short skirts. I wasn't even going to talk about this. But then when we had the Depression, you had very, very long dresses beyond the knee. So you showed an extreme change in fashion. And what they don't tell you is that the trend was changing way before the Depression started in 1929 to 30 to 31, 32. But it looked like it was caused by the Depression. And that leads into my presentation on what are the changes. And I'm going to be talking about more general shifts in lifestyle and fashion. And Nicole is going to get into the specifics of products and brands. But let's just use the concept that the pandemic was an accelerator to fashion shifts that were already starting. And these shifts, these shifts in store closings, these shifts in the purchase of real estate and malls that were closing came to fruition very, very fast. And the pandemic just was a motivating force that made things go faster. And therefore, we identified behavior, because if behavior changes slowly, we don't necessarily register the change. But when behavior shifts within weeks, then you really pick up. So this is kind of what I'm going to be talking about, the new normal. The new normal did not just start with the pandemic. It started, I would say, 6 to 12 months before, or even 18 months before. So what is going on? We are, and overall, people are the main, and some of you are going to say, yeah, that's right. People are concerned, number one, with their health and their safety. And they're buying products that identify with this. So health and safety, they are purchasing any kinds of products that boost their immune system. Yeah, I know it's fashionable to go to a spa, but it's even more fashionable now to have a spa in your home. So it's self-help, it's body and soul. And again, Nicole is going to get into more of the details of this. Another area is financial security. When things, and I'm going to get into the breakdown of the supply chain, but when things happened abruptly and people basically hibernated, went to their homes, and did not go out, people stopped going to the office. There was a lot of issues with the lack of paychecks. If you remember, the federal government did not come in with their stimulus package right away. People were able to go to the unemployment office of employment and get unemployment insurance checks. So that was something that they did. And another area of the new normal is buying for comfort. And again, Nicole is going to get into the details, but you're buying more comfortable clothing. You're buying less structured clothing, more classic clothing, and any more the mainstay. Okay, so what happened? We have a lockdown. And what happens during a lockdown? Well, you take care of yourself, you take care of your family, you look to your older neighbors. I think all of you have done something like this. People left their locations and went to other locations where they could spread out. Your children are home, you're working from home, and the kitchen table, the dining room table becomes your new office. But you also have some time to reflect. And what happens when you reflect? You kind of reevaluate what's important. And when you do that reevaluation, you are, you know, middle class, the lower classes, financially, upper classes, you're looking to identify what is truly important to you. What's important, and you have an opportunity to think of what's new normal. And this is where you have behavioral changes. People become, after you think about it, people become more responsible because we're all on this planet together. And people who were never thinking about the environment or what happens to their products once they buy them, what happens to them, recycling them, all of a sudden you start to think about this. We manufacturers also think about this, and their reflection process is being more responsible to the end user. And we, the consumers, are the end user. You think about the environment, you think about your future, the future generations, and you think about your own comfort. And how do you sustain this situation when you don't know how long it will last? So what happens? You look at product design. We look at using more natural fibers, more durable fibers. And this all started way before the sustainability issues started, I would say 36 months. Some people were always into the sustainability market. I'm a member of Fair Trade Coalition and Fair Trade National Association. And we have been teaching this for the past 8-9 years that I have been involved. And St. John's University, I don't know if how many of you are on this call, but it is a fair trade campus. Percentage of the products that we buy are fair trade. So you start to shift to durable, biodegradable. Manufacturers start to look into this, but at the same time, dealing with the immediacy of the issue, a lot of manufacturing plants started to develop PPEs, personal protective devices. I know I was part of a sewing group at the university in my local community in Douglaston, and we made 2,000 face masks. And we're just a small group of people, but the New York City Coalition and the Mass Coalition helped me, and they gave me supplies, and I was able to get the other communities involved. Okay. Next thing happens is supply chains were broken. People stopped buying the traditional products. When you stop buying, manufacturing plants stop producing, and they shifted to PPEs. However, when they went back into production, you were designing new designs, more you were designing designs for longer shelf life. Part of that is you were manufacturing, not mass manufacturing. And again, Nicole will talk about the specific businesses, but you were manufacturing just in time or on demand manufacturing. So you weren't doing these mass products, and some businesses start to buy back supplies and inventory that were not sold. And that was never done before. There were fewer brick and mortar stores. We're going to go through the list of all the bankruptcies, but bankruptcies started way before the pandemic. Lord and Taylor store before the pandemic, and that was its jewel in the crown. There's a Lord and Taylor's not far from me that just did a major renovation, and now they're going out of business. So it's the holding company to Lord and Taylor's that pulled the switch on Lord and Taylor's, and that was in the works, I would say 24 to 30 months ago. We're looking at sustainability. People who are buying products, so they're looking at biodegradables. They're looking at a sustainable dyeing process using indigos, for example, less chemical emissions. We're a kinder, gentler consumer because we've had time to reflect. We're using more CAD systems, computer-aided design systems, meaning less waste, less textiles going into landfills. What we're also doing is in fair trade, we're looking for fair salaries for workers globally. And that's something we could do a whole lecture, Susan, on fair trade and fair trade development and why the university got involved because of the Vincentian mission. We're also looking at removing seasonality from fashion. That's a big one. Or extending fashion. Fashion has 7 cycles. We've reduced fashion to 4 or 2 cycles, but the designs, more classic designs, less trend, high trendy types of clothes. So that's something, and all these things have to do with sustainability. St. John's University started a bachelor's program in fashion studies, and it is linked specifically to sustainability, ethics, fair trade, and global aspects of the industry. And when this was developed and the concept came to being years ago, it took a while to get this to market. We are exactly the right place to study at the right time. It's part of the Vincentian mission, social teaching, empowering through education and integrity, but it's all about, we teach sustainability, how to design, how to create fabrics that have a long shelf life, how to design with less waste, ethical, how to treat people in business. And this is not only in fashion, but in all businesses. And that's where fair trade comes in. It is all part of the program that we have. And if anyone wants more information, you can contact Susan. But we are very proud of the program that we have put together. Back to the subject. The last thing I want to cover is any fashion business that has already developed a digital platform is way ahead during a crisis or a pandemic. That means that you don't have to start up an online distribution. You already have an online. Tory Burch sells 75% of their products directly to the customer. They are less impacted by what happened because they do not go through retail wholesale operations. There is a trend in remarketing. Anyone who has, so a digital platform, remarketing, repackaging, using biodegradable material for the garment and for the packaging. And that's a big thing. You can buy the garment and then you have to get rid of a plastic hanger and a plastic bag. Everything now you can do is biodegradable. There is a circular business model where stores are REI For example, sports equipment buys back, Patagonia buys back, H&M buy back. And again, Nicole will go into that. Manufacturers, products that are sold and are still on the shelf, they will buy back inventory and they will recycle them. Or they will bring designs back and remake those designs. There's a lot of businesses in that area. We have some of our students interning in those businesses. Compostable natural material packaging, I think I covered that already, and affordable pricing, extending the life of a product. If we know that we can make an investment in an expensive item, but the life of that product is not just going to be for the quarter or the season, but it will extend far beyond that. Good raw materials, people will spend the money for better products. So I would like to now introduce Nicole Mussenden, who will cover the specific areas. And if there are any questions afterwards, both of us will be able to hopefully answer your questions. Thank you. Nicole, you have the floor.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Licari, and welcome everyone. I want to pick up where Dr. Licari left off. And when we were quarantined, we had time to think. We had time to reassess our relationships, our lifestyles, our values. And what came out of that is that we had to clean things out. And we started by cleaning out our closets. So when we cleaned out our closets, we realized we had more than what we needed sometimes. So in essence, to what she was saying, we started buying less, right? And we bought out of need now and not out of want. And then when we bought out of need, we were buying products, just like Dr. Licari said, products that were long lasting, that were sustainable. We had fewer impulse purchases right after the pandemic. And now we bought these products and these items that had sustainability. And in addition to that, not only sustainability, these things meant more to us. So when we're talking about the effects or the trend of sustainability, it really goes to our consumer behavior. What are we thinking? So when we were quarantined, we thought a lot about what we valued. And it seems like what we valued were things that were long lasting, knowing what was going on in the world. So now that these items have value to us, now that these items are more sustainable, I'm going to want to keep them. And then when I purchase them again, I want to make sure that I'm purchasing those that I know are what they call investment pieces. So this thing called sustainability is pretty important. We move from what we call cutting edge designs to more classic multifunctional pieces in which we're wearing. And now, what I think is pretty fascinating is now there's social, economic, and environmental elements that are interwoven into fashion. So now people are being more aware of, where was this product made? How long can I keep this product? Can I reuse this product? And big and small retailers and brands are coming to that point and they're pivoting and they're meeting their consumer demands, their demands for sustainability. So what's really interesting is that the first brand that I mentioned is Gucci. Now, wouldn't we all love to just get anything from Gucci, right? So Gucci launched Off Grid, which is their sustainable, the very first sustainable collection in June of this year. They used recycled as well as organic and bio-based fabrics. H&M did something a little bit different. H&M wants to make sustainability affordable for the average customer, different than Gucci. They want to extend the lifespan of a particular product and have it for multiple uses. So they have many initiatives that they are working on right now, and two in which I'll mention is something called Remade and another one called On Demand. Remade is just what Dr. Licari was talking about. They take their old collection and they remake them new garments with their old collections. And then the other thing is something called On Demand. What's so beautiful about On Demand, and we look at television on demand, what we want, when we want it. So why not do that with fashion? What we want and when we want it. So they started making on-demand pieces, jeans for women. So once again, you can, as soon as you start measuring this person, within 10 days, you can get your product to you and it's custom fit to you, on demand to you. And what it does is it eliminates waste. Why mass produce 1,000, 2,000 jeans if you can custom fit one jean for one person? So H&M is really doing a lot with sustainability and reducing waste in our environment. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, and the other brand I wanted to talk about, is Banana Republic. And Banana Republic just launched what they call Working Towards a Better Republic campaign. And what they're doing is they're donating $20 million of their old collection or unused inventory. We'll come back to that, of unused inventory, to help other people get back to work. So Sue, can you do me a favor and roll the video for me? So you see this here. I purposely, told them do not put the voiceovers on, because what you can see here is that they're taking these old collections and giving them, partnering with another company and giving them to people that need it. So they are, once again, in a sustainable fashion, not wasting their products. And they call it a Better Republic. Now, I'm going to mention something which I know is going to be very eye-popping, and is that most of these brands, if they have unused inventory, you know what they're doing? They are burning their inventory. They're burning all their unused merchandise instead of keeping them out in the public or doing good. So they're not becoming socially responsible, economically responsible, and environmentally responsible. So some of these brands are doing this. They are burning their clothes. And they're doing this for a very strange reason when I read about it, and I've known about this for a couple of years. And they're doing because they want to remain exclusive. They don't want their clothing devalued in the marketplace to people that aren't supposed to have them. Now, let's talk about that in a question answer session. I think that warrants more of a discussion. But those are three companies that are utilizing sustainability in a great way. The other trend I want to talk about is what's happening in the US and what's happening in Europe. As I said, we've started to adapt to this quarantine lifestyle, right? We're dressing more casually now. Comfort is prevalent over style, right? So now the trend is sporty comfort, right? That's what's trending right now. Many of us have done Zoom workouts. Even Under Armour has started to host Zoom workouts. We meditate, we practice yoga, and that's become all the rage. So when we're in a house, we have clothes that are comfortable, practical, soft, and of high quality. Cozy, fluffy fabrics that feels like you can just hug the fabrics. Velvets. These are things that make us feel comfortable during this time. This is what's happening in the US and in Europe. Very different than what I'm going to talk about in China in a few seconds. And whenever we purchase these particular items, we purchase in different colors, soft colors, neutrals, beiges, pastel colors. And I truly believe that these colors evoke calm during such a turmoil, such a really traumatic time in our lives. If we look at the outside world, it's like we almost don't want to be part of that. We want to remain in our calm space after this pandemic. Well, another trend is going back to basics. We are stocking up on plain white tees, classic cut jeans, khakis, and the like. Leggings. Other trends, and the one thing that I found really fascinating is that we now have this new relationship between fashion and work in the office. Now, I want to point out one particular company as I go down this list. The sale of structured clothes for the office are way down because it's becoming more casual, right? We want to extend the lifespan of our clothes, so we want comfortable, quality clothes and shoes, both for genders, for both men and women. So athletic wear and casual attire at the office is trending. Hence, the bankruptcy of the Brooks brothers. Nobody's wearing suits anymore. It's now a casual atmosphere in the office. And they cited that in one of these articles. Think about Silicon Valley chic. You remember seeing some of the gentlemen in their blazers with their hoodies? Or now it's acceptable to wear sweatpants with silk tops. It's a new normal now. Wearing the same thing over and over again that's comfortable for you is fine now. The pressure is off. Another thing that really surprised me, and it shouldn't surprise me because I actually took part of this, is designer shoes for men and women are down 70% from last year. And we talked about this before we started this WebEx. What's happening now? People want comfort. Comfort over style is what's going to be prevalent going forward. People are wearing slippers, Uggs, and Crocs now more than ever. And if they do purchase dress shoes, they're purchasing them with wider widths, thicker heels, and then they have the padded insoles. Comfort, comfort, comfort. Another trend that was really interesting is when we started to wear the mask, what happened to the women? I said, wow, I cannot put my makeup on. I can't put my lipstick on because I keep smudging against the mask. Lipstick sales are down. So guess what's trending right now? Eye makeup, mascara, eyeliner, all of that behind the face mask. This is how we show ourselves and how we express ourselves right now. So this pandemic has really affected us in so many different ways. And it's manifesting itself with makeup and with the clothes that we wear. There's also been a shift to cosmetics, from cosmetics to skincare. People are now taking care of themselves. This is what Dr. Licari said. You want to take care of yourself and your family? So now it's about body scrubs and creams versus makeup versus cosmetics. So do you see these shifts in how they have changed what we purchase? But this is not so in China. China is experiencing after the lockdown what they call revenge spending. So they said they want to be bold and as optimistic as possible. So they're not wearing the muted colors that we're wearing here in the US. They're not wearing the beiges and the neutrals and the pastels. They're wearing bold colors, fluorescent colors. They're wearing big, bold text on garments. It's retail therapy for them. Now, let's look at the luxury trends. So, no doubt about it. And I looked at a New York Times panel the other day. The luxury consumers are still spending. No doubt about it. A great indicator of this is the stock price for LVMH as well as for Kering. Those are the two biggest fashion brands, fashion houses in the world. And those stock prices have either gone up or they remain steady throughout this entire pandemic, with the exception of March, where it dipped a bit. Everybody's stock dipped a bit in March. So these two large fashion houses, and if you know anything about LVMH, their brands are Louis Vuitton, their brands are Yves Saint Laurent, Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, Fendi, Fenty by Rihanna, even Sephora. Big brands. They have over 75 brands, right? Still going strong. Kering, their brands are Gucci, Balenciaga, Alexander McQueen, and Yves Saint Laurent, just to name a few. People are spending and buying money in the luxury market. Now, I want you to show me something, show the rest of the attendees, what Gucci is doing right now, I'm sorry, what Louis Vuitton is doing right now, they have just created a face shield. What we used to utilize as a PPE, they're now utilizing that as a fashion piece. And guess how much that retails for? And it's beautifully made, as you can see. There's Louis, if you can expand that a bit, there is Louis Vuitton, yes, around the headband and all around the face shield. And that is retailing for $961. The luxury consumer is still spending. And I'll say that over and over again. So they're also not only spending on face shields, they're spending on fancy sweatpants, believe it or not, resort wear, and fine jewelry. Let's start with the sweatpants. Okay, that leisure wear category is booming right now for the average consumer and the luxury consumer. But if you look at it, why fine jewelry? And it's something that Dr. Licari said in the beginning of her speech. These are investment pieces. They feel that these investment pieces will last a long time. They're not trendy, and it's something that they can keep with themselves and keep within their families. Spending on jewelry was up 35% over last year during this time. Resort dresses are trending. Wait a second, people aren't traveling. Why are resort dresses trending? Double-digit trends over last year. They call that fashion escapism. This is where we want to be. Psychologically, we want to be somewhere else. And I gotta be honest with you. Someone else mentioned it on that New York Times panel. They said, people still want to look good for Instagram. People still want to look good for their small gatherings. And fashion is enjoyable and it brings them joy. And if the luxury consumer has the money to spend, they will spend it. But there's also been a shift to online sales, as Dr. Licari talked about. Now is the time, and we have started this slowly but surely, now is the time that whether it be luxury or the average consumer, they're spending money on sales online. So luxury sales have actually seen a triple-digit increase in online sales over the past couple of months. And you can get that at flagship brands, or as well as some retailers like Net-a-Porter or Farfetch. Some other trends that I believe you think that will be interesting is the luxury trends in China now, which is a little bit different than what we're going through here in the US. So the Chinese consumer still wants to spend money, right? They have also shifted to e-commerce and these digital platforms. But what's interesting about mainland China is most of their consumers, those luxury consumers that are based in China, spend, or 70% of their money, they spend outside of mainland China, and they get their products in either South Korea, Hong Kong, or they get them in Japan. So what has happened after this pandemic is China said, wait a second, we need to start cutting taxes so that we can have that spending, we can increase consumer spending right here in China. So they've started to do that, and other brands have started to invest in China, such as Kering. Remember I told you Kering oversees Gucci and a couple of other brands, more than a couple of the brands? They're opening up stores in China's urban areas. And then what I consider to be the Amazon of China, Alibaba, is actually launching a luxury outlet platform for these brands that have excess inventory. So they're taking care of it on the digital online side as well as in stores. Now, fashion brands have, outside of the consumer itself, fashion brands are shifting as well. And Dr. Licari talked a little bit about that. There seem to be collapsing seasons and collections. Normally there are two seasons, spring and summer, fall and winter, right? Winter clothes, and listen to this, and I don't know if you ever paid attention to this. If you've gone into a store and the winter clothes are shipped to stores in July. So I want to get a sweater in July. Spring clothes are shipped to the stores in January or February. Now, when I say that they're collapsing seasons and collapsing collections, why do I want to go to a store in July right now? If my money is tight, why do I want to now buy a sweater in July? So now this new model of buy now, wear now is happening. So if I buy it right now, I want to wear it right now. I don't want to wait 3 months for me to get to wear this collection. So we want to buy clothes that are in season. And this is what the brands are doing right now. They're thinking about collapsing their season and collapsing their collections. Virgil Abloh, who is the head of Louis Vuitton's menswear, is considering collapsing all his seasons into one. And what he wrote is, just because it's from last season doesn't mean that it is devalued. It's very much valued. So as we move to the direct-to-consumer model, as we move to collapsing seasons as well as collections, as we move to what we all consider the Warby Parker model, it's more important now than ever for companies and brands to shift what the consumer needs, right? And so now, how are we going to access that? Obviously online. Fashion shows are going on right now. Most of them are digital. Some are virtual showrooms. So I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts about where we are going in fashion and our trends. And as I just summarized this, I took some time to write this down. We've been really forced to reflect on our values and what we want to do in society and what means and what is important to us. So there's a new fashion normal. Consumers want sustainability, eco-friendly clothing, and fashion brands that have been more responsible than ever, socially, economically, and environmentally. Consumers shop for need and not for want. Consumers are choosing comfort over style. I never thought I'd hear that because I love my 6-inch pumps. They're wearing fewer designer collections. And now this buy now, wear now model is trending versus these massive collections and the massive seasons. And right now we're shifting to online sales. I'd love to hear your feedback on a couple of these issues. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Andy. This was terrific, and it's really interesting to hear there really has been a lot of changes taking place in the fashion industry during this pandemic. It's really amazing, and it's going to be interesting because I'm sure it'll keep evolving as time goes on, right? I don't know if our audience, I see that we do have some questions here. One question for the professors. How do you interact with the professors at the Tobin College of Business? Professor Moore, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing their last name correctly, as I'm sure you probably know. This professor produced a movie recently about sustainability and fashion. I did not know that. Do you know the professor at Tobin?
I don't.
Okay,
Yes.
I can take that.
Sure.
I haven't seen the movie, but it's a documentary on sustainability, and they have I believe, I'm a double graduate of Tobin, and so are you. They have a marketing course, part of their marketing major, and I believe Iris Marr has been a blogger and has been involved in fashion to a certain extent, and she teaches her traditional marketing course towards a fashion direction. The actual fashion major is in the Collins College of Professional Studies, and that's a 4-year program. Or we have a lot of Tobin students doing the minor in they can use one of their courses, basic business course, and then do 4 of our fashion studies courses. But the course that Professor Marr teaches is a marketing course leaning towards fashion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You were going to say something? Sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
it's an individual course,
I
and
see.
it might whet the student's appetite to learn more. And then they, again, half of our minors are children's students.
When I was listening to the New York Times, New York Times has this series, on fashion, and when I was listening to it, they talked about sustainability. They talked about the younger audience. Do you feel like it was the younger generation that really pushed this sustainability movement?
That has credibility. I can tell you that I'm part of the Fair Trade, New York City Fair Trade Coalition, and I'm probably one of the older members. But even when we started this program, sustainability, we started the minor about 7 years ago, and it was based on sustainability. When I taught at FIT is a wonderful program, but they're silos, and they teach styling as a major, or pattern making. I taught apparel production management over there, so I was very familiar with that. That, by the way, helped me make 2,000 face masks because I had the skill set in order to do that. And I had a husband who was an architect and engineer, and he made patterns. And I had a son who was an engineer, and he laid them out using CAD. And so we did it sustainably. But this has been, I would say that the youth are leading this movement, but it's the senior management who are paying attention. And that's what you need.
It's great. I know there's some talk about when you have no use for the clothes or you outwore them. What are these companies doing? I know, Nicole, you mentioned some of them are buying back, but if I need, like you said, I am cleaning out my closets. I want to go simple now, and so what do I do with the clothes? I mean, obviously, I always give them away to an organization, but are there other ways to get rid of your clothes and be within the sustainability
Some of
movement?
the brands actually accept recycled clothing. H&M did that until the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if they're doing it now, but a lot of these brands are collecting clothes so they can repurpose them for people that really need them.
That's great.
So they still may be on hold. H&M does that, and a couple other brands do that. But I would assume within the next couple of months or so, just like when we're returning our purchases that we didn't want to the store, that will be open again.
We were talking about careers. I saw there's a question about that. What career paths do your students pursue? Have they found the industry challenging to break into given the disruption? I don't know who wants to respond to that question.
I can start.
Okay.
I can start with that. If you're trying to break into the industry now, it's a bit challenging, but it's not impossible. The having some kind of background in sustainability, having knowledge of new dyeing processes, having knowledge of using computer-aided design, all those things are front and center. So if you have traditional older skills, I think you need to rethink, reevaluate, and take some brush-up skills. But you also have to be very creative. The traditional route of getting positions is a little more difficult in this time and age, but people, manufacturers, designers, the new models of redesigning older fashions. There are companies, I don't know if Anna is on this call, but Anna is doing an internship in a company. Anna McFillan, are you there? She's doing an internship in a company that buys designer clothes and then redesigns them into a more contemporary look. So they got
That's great.
creative. This company got creative, and they created a new model. I had not heard of that model before, and I think it's fabulous. But you've got to offer skill sets that other people don't have, and the established industry doesn't have all the skill sets that the degrees that St. John's is offering. So, Nicole, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I strongly suggest that students, and I'm going to go the more traditional route right now, and just a little bit outside of sustainability, that students get jobs in retail as much as they can, because it really teaches them about the merchandise. It really teaches them about how to market, how to manage stores. Some of my students have, one student worked for Christian Louboutin. I had to visit Christian Louboutin one time.
Nice.
Right. And she was an intern. Internships are invaluable. If you can get them, phenomenal.
Yes.
She worked for Christian Louboutin, but her job was working on the digital platform. And it was strictly piracy, because people were stealing credit cards from people that were purchasing all of their products. So she would have to check every single purchase that went online. I mean, that's some kind of summer job, you know, but you get the ins and outs. There's so many facets to fashion. There's buying, there's visual merchandising, there's marketing that you can get involved in. And it's just getting that right internship. But to me, it starts with working at a retail place so that you get customer service experience, so that you know what quality looks like. You know, I've had one of my students was a buying intern at Barney's when it was Barney's, and she landed a full-time job there. Obviously, she's not there anymore, but that was a couple of years ago. But these internships are invaluable. You shadow senior executives. You get to know how to build products, to learn what sustainability is. Invaluable. But it starts with you just being in retail somehow.
So true. I'm going to segue now. You mentioned Susan, about retail. Oh, I'm sorry.
Susan, I just want to add to what Nicole said.
Sure.
Each semester, again, just prior to this, last semester prior to the pandemic, I had 64 students working Fashion Week. And anyone who took a course with me, these are short-term internships, and it made no difference if they were Tobin students or CCPS. I even had some bio majors from St. John's College, and they were interested, and there was so much need. You could be in front of the show, behind the show, but what it does is gives you a comfort level of being in the industry. And even if it's for 4 or 5 days, you get a thank you letter. So I agree with Nicole that just getting comfortable in the industry. And this year I had 12. Right now I only have 12 students working because all the shows have been virtual or cut back. But you know, we're hoping that it goes back to a normal, but you can get creative. Students can go out, find a position, but it has to be a content position for credit. We need to go do our due diligence, go there, check it out. And so you don't have to wait for us to find one, though we have internships and we use Handshake at St. John's in our placement through across the university. But you can go out, find it yourself, bring it to us, and then we will check it out to make sure that you're learning content. That's it.
That's great. That's great. I mean, to go to Fashion Week, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm going to segue. I know, Nicole, you were mentioning about retail, and there's a question here because I know you said that online sales are increasing. And one of our viewers is asking a question. When buying online, there's frustration at fit and size. I spend so much time returning items. I can relate to this. How can we do a better job? Sometimes I buy from a familiar brand, but one item will fit and another item in same size, so forth.
Oh boy, I'm not too sure if I can answer that because
I know,
I have
that's
that
a
same
tough
question myself.
I know.
It's a tough question, but if you get to know your brands, and you get to know their quote unquote collections and your sizes, yes, returning things is a nightmare. And there are also articles about how to do that safely, how to try on clothing safely during this COVID environment. What is it that we do? I'm not too sure if I have an answer. Maybe Dr. Licari has an answer, because I feel that I'm in that same position sometimes.
I think it has to do with brand fit. And if you know that you've purchased a brand in a brick and mortar store and it fits, there are certain brands that I buy that I walk in the store, I don't even have to try them on, I'll just take them. My biggest issue is shoes. How do you buy shoes and online? And that's an issue for me. But as far as buying, if you know the brand, you know how it fits you. Sometimes I buy two of something because I know it's a good deal and I know the brand.
Yeah, I've even noticed myself, because I do a lot of online shopping, and I've noticed that it has evolved. I agree with both of you with the brands, because then you get to know the clothes and how they fit, so you don't have to, the chances of returning, that percentage goes down. But I have noticed that I will gravitate towards companies that make it easier to purchase. Like some of them have the 3D video, because sometimes it's really great to see the model walking in the clothes and how it's going to fit, as opposed to a stationary, type of photo. So I think their online presence and how they present the clothes are getting better and better. And I would also recommend definitely reading the reviews, because then you can read a review and the person will share how much they weigh or how tall they are, and you can kind of get an idea. If everybody's saying nix on that top, it was horrible, it shrunk or something like that, then I won't buy it. And most of the time the reviews are spot on. Yes.
Susan, also don't go to the top reviews on the top, scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Okay, good
and
tip.
then you'll see more of a balance, because the top ones, they could have paid someone to do those. I'm not saying that all companies do,
Right.
but that's another way of looking at them. And the reviews are very, very good.
Oh, that's
And
a great
I
idea.
like what you said about the model. The Warby Parker model is what everyone is utilizing, because you actually can put your glasses on and see how they look on you, instead of going into the store, and everything happens online.
Right.
I think we're shifting, as we said, this digital platform that we're shifting to. We want to see what the clothes look like on us, right? We want to have that mirror and see what every single style looks like on us, right? We want to go to virtual showrooms. There's a lot that we want to do. And I think the brands have to catch up to what we need.
Yeah, and I think the easier they make it for you, I know I'm going to the companies that, they give me the bag, the label, they don't charge me, it's very simple, as opposed to the other one. I have to go on the computer, I have to download the label. I'm not shopping there, sorry. This is difficult enough. You have to make it much easier for me. So like you said, I think the consumer is really driving some of these changes. I know we're at 2:00 and I want to get to everyone's questions. So let me quickly, I think we have one on chat. Oh, by the way, Anna is on. I know Dr. Licari, you mentioned if Anna was on, she is on. We also have, what is your opinion of Nike? Do you consider them a socially responsible company?
Well, Nike was one of those companies that actually burned their products. So they burned unused inventory. And I don't know if they stopped doing that. I'm assuming that the shift that we have now, Dr. Licari said, like really the past 36 months, everyone has started to really get into it. But Nike, H&M, Burberry, Urban Outfitters, even Louis Vuitton, these companies were taking this unsold merchandise and burning it for the sake of exclusivity. So, I don't know where you go from there.
That's crazy.
So Nike, it is sustainable enough, but I think it's, and Dr. Licari, please correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was Reebok or Adidas that created the biodegradable sneaker. I'll have to get back to you on whoever that was. I can email you. But they've been creating sustainable products, and I hear more about Nike or Reebok than I do about Reebok and Adidas than I do more about Nike.
One of the ways that they can limit this is limited production runs, so that they're making, and Zara really started that trend, but you make a very small production run. Once it sells out, that's it. Then you come up with another line or another collection.
But what happens when Nicole had mentioned that now you're looking at just one line? You're not having the winter or the summer or whatever. Is that going to affect models' salaries or
Well, what
other?
Nicole said was one collection. She didn't say one line. So within the collection, and I think most companies have two collections, though there are 7 seasons to fashion. So it's the spring, summer, and it's the fall, winter. And what companies are doing is they are not discounting, they are selling within the season. So if you were to go to a store right now, it is September. They have slowly converted, but about 3 weeks ago, I went to a major store and they were still selling summer goods. And the summer goods were not on sale, which is what you normally would expect. And then you would start seeing the fall colors come in. That is being moved in slowly. So what going forward, what you're going to see is clothes being sold within the season. And for example, so let's say we go to the fall winter season, it'll start now and it will go until, let's say, February. You will not start seeing sales before Christmas. Excuse me, you have a holiday season in there, which impedes everything. You will see holiday sales, but you will still see winter clothes being sold. And then you will see the spring and summer lines come out. And since they produced less, you don't have the overproduction, they will either go to an odd lotter or a discounter, and they will be put away for the following season, and the new products come out. But don't think you're going to have large volumes of clothing. They're going to have limited production runs.
But isn't that the issue now, Dr. Licari? Everyone had large runs. They've been mass producing with not paying attention to. Unless you go to what we heard about Goop and what we heard about Tory Burch, direct-to-consumer model, you have these massive runs of product and there's massive amounts of unsold inventory that are out there. And now people are brands are paying closer attention to how much they produce.
Is that what led to some of these bankruptcies? I know Nicole has a question. Which notable retailers have filed for bankruptcy?
Let me
I
tell
know
you.
we mentioned Century 21.
Nicole has the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we even, when Brooks Brothers filed for bankruptcy, and let me tell you, there's always something behind that. So they were banking on men wearing suits all the time, but we shifted. Remember, we shifted our taste to casual. So look at this list here. Century 21 in September, bankruptcy. Lord & Taylor, as we know. Taylor Brands, which is Men's Warehouse, Joseph A. Banks, K&G Fashions. The Essentia Group, including Ann Taylor, Lane Bryant, New York & Company, Brooks Brothers, Lucky Brand Dungarees, Diane von Fossenberg Studio in the UK, JCPenney. This is still just May of 2020 now. Neiman Marcus, which we were all very surprised about.
That I was surprised at, yeah.
Which, as well as the Aldo Group, John Varvatos, J. Crew, True Religion in their second round of bankruptcy. Forever 21, Barney's, which cut me to the core, by the way. Roberto Cavalli, Diesel. This is just in
Diesel?
2020.
Wow.
Diesel was at the end. Diesel was in 2019. But this is just an abbreviated list, and these are. Can't believe what's happening now.
And as the pandemic, pandemic lasts, so we're going to see more. Do you feel?
Well,
I think I think there will be a leveling off at some point, but there's also an overabundance of malls being created. For example, Hudson Yards, Joy Storm, who was a futurist, was talking about the mall at Hudson Yards. It should have never been a retail space. And what are they going to do now? So Neiman Marcus was the anchor. It's closing. The restaurants that surrounded the anchor, I don't know what's going to happen to them. They're not, I think they're going out of business. You still have event space there, but they're going to convert all that to office and residential. But should it have ever been created? The answer is no. You don't see people walking out of the store of the mall with shopping bags. They go, they look, they may eat something, and they walk out. So they go for a lifestyle event, but that's it. So we have an overabundance of malls, and you need to correct the number. So I think there will be a leveling off, but I think the development will turn into something else. The retail development will turn into something else that would be more productive.
And it's great. You know, you have that shift to online sales to the digital platform. People were these companies going bankrupt. Could they afford brick and mortar stores along with their inventory?
No.
They have too much debt. So this shift I'm hoping that it will level off. But we don't need as many stores. You have to look at what the consumers are doing. The more convenient way of shopping for some people is to shop online.
Yeah, it's very interesting. How does one, wait, I lost track. I think we talked about that. What about the social justice movement that's going on, diversity, inclusivity? I'm sure we can spend a whole hour on this, but I felt it was important to talk about it. You know, we see that fashion is always in London and Milan and Paris. Do we feel like maybe that will change as well? You know, not just European countries being represented, but maybe have a fashion show in Africa or India. Do you see any of those changes taking place?
Want me to take that?
Sure.
Okay. So I think so goes the world, so goes fashion. I don't think fashion is going to help the world with this diversity issue. I think I saw in one instance where Findy's, you made this announcement about Findy and they hired this person, and they got a little bit of backlash because they didn't hire a diverse person to oversee these brands. And I think it's, you know, the fashion industry has a long way to go, in my opinion, when it comes to being diverse. They talked about Anna Wintour, how she has never had any diverse people as editors for Vogue. It really runs the gamut. And, you know, I think having Virgil Abloh as the head of Louis Vuitton's men was kind of groundbreaking, you know, and he was this famous streetwear designer. And then that happened. And we're hoping that the chips keep falling and that people will understand that there are many people out there that are wearing these, not only a certain person, but there are many demographics that are wearing some of these fashion brands and that aspire to do so.
Okay.
So I don't Susan, necessarily have that hope, but yeah.
Susan, there are regional fashion events in Africa and different parts of Asia, but the traditional countries, like fashion starts, as far as I'm concerned, in really the avant-garde of Japan, and then it goes to Milan, and it goes to Rome, and then Paris and London and New York, and eventually goes across the country. So what's happening in New York is not necessarily happening on the West Coast. I used to live on the West Coast, and when I would go from New York, they would know New York was coming because my fashion was so different than the West Coast. And when I lived on the West Coast, I would come back to New York. They would say, oh, here comes LA land. The point is that we may be condensing the fashion industry and having what's happening now is we're having less shows.
Mhm.
So to broaden that and to go into secondary and tertiary markets, I don't know how realistic it is.
Mm.
At least during the pandemic period and a year after that, everyone is kind of folding into a more virtual show. You don't need an audience necessarily, as long as you could take that show and bring it to the consumer. So social media is a very big part of it. Having influencers talk about it is a very big part of it. And I think the diverse clientele is a big part of fashion. They always have been, especially the design elements. And it has to infiltrate the way we think, and what is acceptable in society. So eventually it will come to play.
Interesting.
Eventually.
I've noticed we're over time. Before we end our power hour, Dr. Licari, Professor Mussenden, would you like to just close out, say a couple words and summarizing everything that we talked about today?
Nicole, you want to start?
Oh, sure. I just think that fashion relates so much to how we behave, and we are the engines. You know, we drive our consumer demand. Really puts the foot on the gas of these brands to make those changes. And I'm really interested to see where we go with sustainability, and talking about this with some of my students as well. And just what we had asked earlier, my students, all my fashion students, are very much interested in sustainability. So the young people are really driving this as well. And I'm looking forward to where we're going with that, because as you can see outside, my nephew lives in California, right? He lives right in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Mm,
It is not a good place.
no.
So we
no.
really need to save our environment. And
Yes.
it could start with fashion. Why not?
Right.
You know, why not? And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You know, fashion is close to our skin, and our skin is close to our soul and our heart. If we're comfortable within our own skin, we make the right decisions as far as diversity, as far as treating each other kinder, equal, self-love. If you don't love yourself, it's hard for you to love the people around you. St. John's, I'm a product of the Vincentian mission. St. John's has taught us well. I am so proud of the university for being a fair trade campus, and giving our students the opportunities that they have. So God bless you all, and thank you for the opportunity of giving Nicole and I a chance to speak to you about this.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. This was wonderful. It was very interesting, but I have to say our students are very, very fortunate, very lucky to have both of you as their professors. You guys are fantastic. We've learned a lot here, and thank you. Hopefully we can bring you back again so we could see more of the changes and how the fashion industry is evolving during this pandemic. But have a great day, and thank you to all the viewers. Thank you for signing in. We'll have another great coming up on September 29th. We're bringing back our hospitality group. We have a huge panel, and as we know, that's another group that has really been affected by this pandemic, so I hope you'll join us. Thank you, everyone. Take
God
care.
bless.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Susan? Who?
Yes.